I think the music that we probably sought out, we were also fascinated by the people behind it. We had to know everything about them. And we didn't have the internet. So it was, the lyrics, anything we could gather from, the music journalism that we saw. And we would build these mythic views of people. And now in my 50s, I'm on Spotify and I get suggestions and I think, yes, there's something about that I like on some intuitive level, and I select it from my library and there it is, and I can click to find out more about the artist, but I simply don't know. And I don't know if Joan as Policewoman is one woman, a band, where they're from. I don't know anything about them. This is the horrible thing about getting older. Like when you've lived through some decades, you really pick up on derivative music. So I'd say anything that has echoes of the period that I was young in, I sometimes don't like, even though in a way it should ignite some kind of nostalgic feeling in me. So lots of indie rock I don't like. We grew up in suburbia. We were outsiders. But yeah, to find other people who were into the same things, who liked stuff that other people would consider weird. And I guess I just think I'm struck, and I don't know if it's the same for teenagers today, but I just feel like it was such a gateway to other things. Like you would, even if what you liked was pretty shitty, through kind of shitty or mediocre stuff, we were actually finding out some stuff about art and culture that we maybe weren't getting in a high school English class in Scarborough. There was also a lot of pretension, and I think about that too, because I really very consciously sort of, in the same way that people use social media to curate an image, I feel like in a way, I would no sooner have admitted that I liked, say, ABBA to you and my friends, or the Bee Gees, for example. There was definitely pop music of the late 70s, early 80s when we were most into music that was kind of an embarrassment that I still enjoyed. But I was like, nope, I have to find interesting, obscure, outsider music, and I have to share it with my friends and all the rest of it. And we were, of course, completely confused about punk and new wave. I made many serious errors because, again, we did not have the internet, so we did not know really what was cool and what was not cool. And so I got quite confused sometimes, and I would be like, oh, the New Romantics are influenced by Bowie, so it's okay for me to wear this pirate shirt. And then I would be lined up at, Masonic Temple to see some cooler band. And I remember Dave Rave McIntosh, who I had not met at that time, coming out to me and saying, look at this new romantic. Look at this fucking new romantic. Let's beat her up, or whatever. He was a foot shorter than me at the time, so it wasn't too threatening. But there was this great confusion about what was actually what.
Are there any concerts you saw that you feel like were really transformative or that really stick with you?
Iggy. Yeah. He was such a compelling figure that I was trying to figure out, this sort of mix of fairly literate, strange, interesting, Bowie-related kind of person, and just this feral fucking, body, essentially, like crazy. I was entirely compelled by him. He's kind of a performance artist at that time, probably more than a musician, if you could ever call him that. He was just absolutely charismatic, and that's why everybody was drawn to him. And I have some colorful tales of I worked at, in addition to Zounds, I also worked at A&A Records on Yonge Street, and I worked with, let's make up a name for her. Let's call her Tracy. I worked with a woman named Tracy, who was very beautiful and was a groupie. And she, made an art of seducing performers and musicians who she was really into. She would study them and think about them. And she knew that Iggy had a thing with Debbie Harry, and that he had this sort of Marilyn Monroe fixation. And so she chose this amazing, she already had peroxide blonde hair, and she had this amazing latex dress that she was going to wear. I had periods of energy around my appearance where I would try and then not try. And I had sort of, had the makeup and hair of the period, but would wear a ski jacket and stuff like that because it was cold. It was always practical. She was gonna get Iggy. And so anyway, I went by myself, I think, to see him. And of course, we did that Scarborough thing that we did. I don't know if you did it too, but we when it was a general admission show anywhere, we showed up hours in advance. And that was part of the excitement, to just be outside the venue and sit there for hours in anticipation and then rush in through the doors. And so I got right up to the stage. And I was there in my red ski jacket, as I recall. And there was Tracy. And she looked amazing. She had perfect makeup and perfect hair and this rubber dress. Anyway, Iggy came out. He was wearing fishnets and a black mini skirt and some kind of black top. And, of course, he has a beautiful body. And he had mascara on, and he just looked like a hot mess. But people were grabbing at him, and he's not a tall man, and so you could really, really get a good grip on Iggy if you wanted to, and some people wanted to. So anyway, I think he felt intuitively that my part of the stage was a safe zone because I was not trying to reach up his skirt. And so he was quite often singing right above me, which was amazing. And then, the most amazing part of my music fan life, suddenly he lurched back and he looked down and he looked at me, not clearly, but he looked at my general direction and he put the mic in my face. Actually, he smacked my head, the top of my head with the mic because he really couldn't see. And it hurt like hell. And then he said, "What's your name?" And I said, "Lisa." And he said, "This is for Lisa." And they sang a shitty song called Eggs on Plate. But who cared? He sang that song. And he didn't look at me during the song really or anything, but he sang it to me. And it was probably just gratitude that I was not grabbing his crotch. But anyway, I was standing there and I just was amazed. And then I just felt a hard punch in the side of my head. And it was Tracy. And she was like, "The fuck? You're wearing a ski jacket, and I am." Anyway, she did get to sleep with him later, and it was horrible. But anyway, that was an electric moment for me.